800 million shillings of the country's budget for the 2018-2019 financial year will flow into efforts to clean up the Nairobi River. This will be the 5th attempt to purify a river that has been choking in the filth, so much so it can barely flow. Leila Mohamed traces a source of efforts to restore it to its former glory and how these initiatives have fared downstream.
In an article published in Pambazuka News on the 31st of May 2017, John Kakonge wrote that if the Nairobi River were a human being, it would have choked by now. But the life out of the capital's river is choking under the oily and grim sludge that characterizes its waters, its banks now jammed with all manner of rubble and waste. For long, it has been the depository of the city's effluent. The once cool waters now cannot support any life. The writer, however, sees the glass as half full, pointing to its huge potential as a resource for the city.
In addition, Mr. Speaker, the national government is also collaborating with the Nairobi City County in the implementation of the Nairobi Regeneration Program. Some of the activities to be undertaken under this program are first cleaning the Nairobi River.
Nearly 2 decades of efforts to breathe life back into the choking river that have been on and off. Now the government wants to try again. In the 2018-2019 budget, the government has pumped 800 million shillings into efforts to purify the waters of the Nairobi River. But this would not be the first effort to cleanse the river. In 1999, UNEP sponsored a major cleanup effort. The second phase, that lasted between 2001 and 2003, targeted the Mutuine Ngong River, one of the tributaries of the Nairobi River. The third phase, which lasted 4 years between 2004 and 2008, focused on restoring the river ecosystem so as to provide clean water for the capital and a healthy environment for the people of Nairobi. When he began cleaning up the Nairobi River basin and the tributaries that breathe life into the city under the sun, many felt that John Mishuki, the late Minister for Environment, would not fight this fight to the bitter end. But so many more years after he first began to clean up the Nairobi River, the challenges that were there before then are still a challenge today. This was in 2009. But earlier in April 2018, NEMA started clearing out the riverbanks, kicking out all who had encroached on them. Then Finance Minister John Mishuki put the price tag for the 3-year cleanup project at 2.46 billion shillings. The government would contribute 30% of the funds and the rest would come from donors and private companies.
If I get the resources I'm looking for, and I'm sure, I have no doubt I'm going to get it, this city in 3 years will be different.
In 2014, the Nairobi City County had pledged to allocate 200 million Kenya shillings in its budget for the cleanup. But the chairman of the Nairobi Dam Restoration Task Force, Bartonjo Chisaina, said was only a drop in the ocean, as the complete restoration will cost between 700 million and 1 billion shillings.
Mnajua mnaweza kufanyiza serikali kazi nyingi na nyinyi mnajua hii mambo yote.
At the moment, Dagoretti, Kawangware, Karen, Kirichwa, and Mata and Kiamaiko are some of the areas under surveillance for polluting the tributaries, which have turned into flowing open sewers and dump sites. If the government has its way, at least 120,000 people living in informal settlements within the major slums of Nairobi will be relocated to pave way for a cleanup of the Nairobi River and its tributaries, Mathare and Ngong rivers. Leila Mohamed, NTV.